By 1987, Marshall Mathers and his mother Debbie had lived a transient life before finally landing in inner-city Detroit. In his teens, Marshall had found expression in hip-hop music and in fellow rap fanatic Deshaun Holton, known to friends as Proof. Eminem found his perfect partner in rhyme. Eminem's love for rap was matched by another obsession, Kim Scott.
Eminem and Kim started as teenagers, very young.
She's blonde, she's kind of tall. She's not exotic or famous or anything like that. She's just like an around-the-way girl, you know?
I think Eminem said that he was dancing on a table with his shirt off, and she walked in, and he was like, oh my God, she's incredible.
When Kim and Marshall got together, they have serious chemistry, you know? Whether you want to call it love is one thing, and they definitely fell pretty hard for each other. Aside from Proof and, like, you know, writing rhymes, he didn't have a lot else in his life. Now, at that time, his relationship with his mom was really disintegrating.
Kim was there as Marshall's relationship with his mother, Debbie, became more unstable.
If he got kicked out, then I would walk the streets with him until he found some place to live. Or if I got kicked out, he was always there for me. There was always just a close connection.
It's tough to say what was really going on with Debbie and Marshall. It was very adversarial. And I think this is the time when she was pretty much out of work. His version is that she had a string of sort of bad news boyfriends. She was collecting welfare and popping a lot of pills and things like that. Her version is that he's always been brought up in like a nicotine, alcohol, and drug-free home, and that she was always a great mother. Proof said they just never really knew what was going to happen with Debbie. One day they'd come home and she would like come in with groceries and make all of his friends dinner and be like a real great mom. Then another day she would like slam open the door and kick everyone out, including Marshall, and like throw his clothes out the window.
It's not like she abandoned him and blew off the family. She was a single mother, struggling to be able to pay the bills, struggling to be able to keep them together.
As tensions in the Mathers household mounted, on the 13th of December 1991, Marshall received devastating news.
Ronnie, his uncle, who he was close to, he died very young, before he was 20.
Ronnie killed himself over a breakup. He had his heart broken, and he just couldn't take it anymore.
I think that was really devastating for him. He was the one older male in his life that he believed in and he trusted, and it actually opened up the world to him. And when Ronnie committed suicide, I think it just really cut his feet out from under him.
Em was just so broken up, he stayed in bed. He couldn't go to the funeral back in Missouri. But his mom went to the funeral, called him, and they got into this heated argument over the phone.
Debbie said on the phone to him that she wished that Eminem was dead and not Ronnie.
That was pretty much the straw that broke the camel's back between the two of them. And the relationship fracture really hasn't ever been the same since then.
You know, a lot of pain, a lot of rejection. Remember, I asked him, in your childhood, who loved you? And he kind of struggled to think of who that was.
Age 19, after failing 9th grade 3 years in a row, Marshall dropped out of school and found work in a local restaurant. Tensions with his mother left him alienated in his own home, until Proof welcomed him to a new home in the heart of Detroit's hip-hop underground.
Maurice Malone, who is a clothing designer, had a store called the Hip Hop Shop. And not only did he sell clothing that he designed out of there, on the weekends he would have hip-hop battles.
Every Saturday, clear out the store, move all the clothes out. We will open up the mic and let the kids do their thing. The mic controller MC, which usually Proof.
Somebody would start to rhyme and somebody else would challenge them.
Your job was to make fun of the way he looks and make fun of his flow.
And it was a competitive thing, so if you won last week and the following week you come back, you're the winner, you're the one to beat.
When Proof invited Eminem to the Saturday night battles, it gave the 23-year-old white kid from Missouri much-needed clout in a skeptical crowd.
His friendship with Proof really validated him within the hip-hop scene in Detroit. He needed someone who was African-American to give him a foundation.
Having spent much of his young life in conflict with one person or another, Marshall was a natural at these wars of words.
When you have that in your background, when you're in a battle with somebody and you actually have a constructive place to send your feelings, you're going to be a beast to them.
But his early efforts at amateur freestyle contests were anything but auspicious.
His style at that time was a tongue twister style of rapping where you rap so fast, just put as many words as you can in a phrase or whatever. And he was falling off beat sometime, and the crowd didn't like it, and they booed him off.
Now the beat cut off and he's still rapping.
Undeterred, Eminem came back week after week to perfect his craft.
Em didn't talk much. He had his personality. He'd just come in, who's this little quiet white guy, and then he'd get on the mic and start ripping people apart.
He soon learned how to win over a hostile crowd with humor and developed his singular brand of rap rhetoric that would make him a freestyle champion.
That's my motherfucking dog.
The hip-hop shop wasn't just a training ground. For young Marshall Mathers, whose real home had failed him in so many ways, it became a second home. Meanwhile, his family life was growing more complicated. On Christmas Day 1995, Kim gave birth to Marshall's daughter, Haley Jade. 23-year-old Marshall was overjoyed, but fatherhood brought new struggles.
Once he knew he was going to be a father, that definitely changed him. He doubled up on his work schedule.
He was working all these jobs, trying to write rhymes, pounding the pavement, promoting himself.
In 1996, it looked like Marshall Mathers' luck might have changed.
He got on a local station. They were letting local rappers just freestyle.
These local producers heard him and were like, hey, there's something kind of interesting here.
Called the station right away and asked to speak to him, wanted to know who that kid was, and ended up inviting him down to their studio.
They produced what became his first sort of recorded album, Infinite.
Infinite was sort of his demo tape that ended up getting pressed up as an actual record. Was a local regional release. These are not fully fleshed out, fully developed songs.
They had no money, they had no time. I don't think he had any idea really what he wanted to say.
The lyrics were like, oh, I find myself in God, and God is going to save me from my little Caesar's pizza job. I mean, it was crazy stuff.
Infinite hardly made Eminem an overnight success. The album failed to sell even the 1,000 copies they'd pressed. But Marshall wasn't discouraged. Failure inspired him to create a new hip-hop alter ego, an alter ego that would turn him into a star.